Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to our Japan Pavilion side event, Zero Carbon Partnership between Japan and Asia for a New Age, using the Asia-Pacific Integrated Model AIM to pave the way for carbon neutrality. Welcome to the COP26. Now we are like second week on Thursday. It's almost the hopefully end, but it is still the negotiation is quite exciting, I heard. During our side event, we'd like to share our lesson learned how to support the long-term strategy. This is one very key tool for having the Paris Agreement 1.5 degree target. And today we have very important speakers. So I'd like to jump into the agenda. I'm Junichi Fujino from the IGES Institute for Global Environmental Strategy, today's MC. On the program, we will have welcome remarks by the Mr. Shoda Yutaka, Vice Minister, but he is on his business. So I'd like to first invite keynote speech by His Excellency Dato' Lim Jok Hoi, Secretary General of the ASEAN, regarding the ASEAN State of Climate Change Report and forward-looking perspective toward carbon neutrality. So please share the video from Tokyo side, and then let's watch his message.
His Excellency Shoda Yutaka, Vice Minister of Global Environmental Affairs of the Ministry of the Environment of Japan, Her Excellency Lakshmi Dewanti, Director General Climate Change Control of the Ministry of Environment and Forestry of Indonesia, His Excellency Dato' Sri Dr. Shahidan Kasim, Minister of Federal Territories of Malaysia, distinguished panelists and colleagues, greeting from the ASEAN Secretariat. I am pleased to join you today at the UNFCCC COP26 side event organized by Ministry of Environment of Japan, Institute of Global Environment Strategy, IGES, and National Institute for Environmental Studies. This is indeed a timely platform to learn about ASEAN and Japan's experience in implementing strategies for decarbonization or carbon neutrality in the region. Addressing the climate calamity and achieving a more sustainable future are at the heart of ASEAN's agenda and priority. ASEAN has worked collaboratively with partners, notably Japan, in confronting the climate crisis. Through the ASEAN-Japan Climate Action Agenda 2.0, endorsed last September, Japan has provided valuable support to ASEAN specifically on transparency, mitigation, and adaptation. This includes the development of first ASEAN's state-of-art climate change report. This groundbreaking report provides an overview of climate change in the region and identifies priority action for ASEAN by 2030. In time for COP26, allow me to share with you some key insights from the report. First, developing a long-term mitigation strategy for ASEAN is key to guide sectoral and cross-sectoral policy planning in the regions towards Paris Agreement's goals. A possible entry point would be to support the transition to cleaner energy for power, industry, transport, and infrastructure sectors. Nature-based solutions for agriculture, forestry, and other land use sectors can also be explored. Second, the report identified necessary enabling environment to enhance adaptation capabilities, particularly on technology, finance, and human resources. Higher investment are especially needed for climate projection, creation of a regional adaptation fund, enhanced technology access, and formulation of an ASEAN regional adaptation plan. Third, financial flows need to support a green and resilient recovery both from the ongoing pandemic and climate crisis. Action under the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework and its implementation plan should include strategies and specific programs to reskill the workforce and offer green jobs in sectors such as clean energy, climate smart and agriculture, and sustainable forest management. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, these recommendations are important reference for a more robust and inclusive ASEAN climate action vision. I extend my sincere appreciation to the government of Japan for its immense support and also to IGES for its technical lead in this endeavor. I wish to also congratulate the ASEAN member states for valuable input in this important milestone. I hope the findings and recommendations of the ASEAN State of Climate Change report will provide food for thought for today's discussion. Beyond COP26, I encourage the AMS partners and relevant stakeholders to work closely with the ASEAN Working Group on Climate Change and other ASEAN sectoral bodies to further strengthen our partnership for a more climate resilient region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Dr. Lim Jok Hoi, for having the very important message. And then this is a past report by the ASEAN Secretariat to share the climate change action toward 2050. It's a kind of landmark report, and then IGES is quite happy to contribute to develop this report for this opportunity, COP26. I also would like to share the one information that is the ASEAN Secretariat and the IGES side support to develop video to learn about what is the ASEAN State of the Climate Change report, and also the meaning of this report for the ASEAN or for the world. So please visit our website, and then now today it is a launching day for this video. So then yeah, if you kindly join me to having the big applause, because many staff working very hard to develop this video and also this report. So thank you very much. This is a launching. Thank you so much. Okay, then next I'd like to invite Mrs. Emma Rahmakti, Director Climate Change Mitigation, also Director General Climate Change, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Indonesia. So Ibu Emma, so please come to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank to Japan government for inviting Indonesia to this very interesting and very important event. Secondly, I would like to send the regrets from the Vice Minister that previously have a plan to attend, but due to other appointment, I then represent my office to join this meeting. It is again my great pleasure to be here to share with you our experience in developing updated NDC and document of long-term strategy, low carbon and climate resilient 2050. It is very important for us among ASEAN member states to share our experience, and then we can learn from each other. Next slide, please. I would like to share with you that this is the process of implementation of Paris Agreement in Indonesia. I think we start together since the beginning of 2015 to 2016, where we adopted and then ratified Paris Agreement. So our president has announced during the COP21 in Paris our commitment to reduce GHG emission unconditionally 29% and then conditionally up to 41% compared to the business as usual in 2030. And then we ratified in 2016, and we have also submitted our first NDC. Along the line with this preparation, nationally we prepare all the instrument in order us to be ready for the implementation of Paris Agreement. For Indonesia, it's started 1st January 2021. So this year we implement Paris Agreement. So before that, we prepare all the mechanism. For example, here we enhance the system of Science Smart. Science Smart is a system for inventory that all ministries and all local government can input all the data activities into the system. This is supported by Japan governments. Thank you very much for that. Since 2014. So we develop it, we improve it. And then we have developed national registry system for transparency framework. So we put all action, mitigation, and adaptation, and also support into this system. And we have also, under this registry system, we have also developed the system for community-based action. We call it ProClim or Climate Village. So this program also under the national registry system. Since in 2019, as we have very specific document on NDC, but for implementation we need a roadmap. So we develop roadmap for mitigation and for adaptation. For mitigation, we develop all detailed activities and then institutional arrangement, and then the target of 29%, how we then could contribute it for 5 sectors: value, energy, agriculture value, and then waste and IPPU. And then how much of a target for each 2 year. So this is under the roadmap. Finally, in July this year, we submitted as a package document of updated NDC and long-term strategy on low carbon and climate resilience 2050. Next slide, please. This is the development of NDCs. We have submitted the first NDC and updated NDC, and then long-term strategy LTS LCCR. This is the general process. So we have this process as a very generic process. I can show you here all the process from the kickoff, from the start, that we always refer of every policy of every policy on climate change. We refer to the constitution, regulations, and then political support, and then institutional arrangement. The point here that I would like to raise with you is the second step, science-based approach. So all documents related to climate change, not only these 2 documents, but also biennial update report and also national communication, is always a science-based approach. So we involve scientific community. I think our expert will be join this session and this second part of this event. The important point is on modeling and also scenario for mitigation and adaptation. So again, I would like to thank the Japan government with this aim, because this is very helpful in supporting us how we can we can provide analysis, because 2050 is very long period. So many uncertainties. So by using this modeling, we can be supported. What is the projection can be provided with this model. The other aspect is engagement. All document, all the process always involve all stakeholders, not only ministries, but also private sector, and then communities, of course, local government. And the process, we do it back and forth with all the discussion, and then with the document, and then also finally come to the conclusion how we could conclude with the numbers, for example, for the target. And then after that, we bring it to high level, and then after approved by President, actually for this document, to document, we submit it to UNFCCC Secretariat. Next slide, please. Just to give you an overview, this is our document, the content of our document of LTS LCCR 2050. This is our long-term vision on the climate change in Indonesia. So this document is aligning the climate goals and targets with national, subnational, and international objectives, including SDGs. But we also very much highlight the role of non-party stakeholders in this process. We refer with the vision of Indonesia 2055. There's 100 years of Indonesia independence. So the president has a vision for 2045. So we refer this vision into our document. For mitigation, we have 3 pathway scenarios for 5 sector category: for AVOLU, agriculture, FOLU, energy, waste, and APPU. So for this non-FOLU, we use AIM, the modeling, and then we do it integratedly with the forestry sector. These 3 scenarios, CPOS is the scenario that we are using in our NDC, the current NDC. And then our target is by using the LCCP, low carbon scenario compatible with Paris Agreement target. So this scenario is in line with 1.5 degree Celsius. And this is on adaptation. Next slide, please. On this document, on the mitigation pathway, we have a vision that we are going to be net zero in 2060 or sooner. So in 2050, the level of GHG emission is 540 million carbon dioxide equivalent, million ton carbon dioxide equivalent. The important element for achieving this target is that forestry and land use has to be net sink since 2030. If we cannot achieve this net sink target, so it is very difficult to achieve net zero in 2060. So forestry sector and then energy sector have a very important role in order Indonesia to achieve net zero emission by 2060. So under this LCCP scenario, Indonesia need to significantly reduce emission from energy to close to zero and increase removal in forestry and land uses. Of course, this is a very, very huge task for all stakeholders in Indonesia. And adaptation pathway, we have the target also related with GDP. Next slide, please. On how we could bridging science and policy making. Of course, we use scenario and modeling in mitigation and adaptation, and in this document. And we, of course, by having conditional and conditional target, we refer to this science and policy making process. And then the other one important point is the engagement of stakeholders in having this process fully involved and then inclusive engagement with all stakeholders. I think this is my last slide. Next slide, please. I think this is my last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibu Emma, to sharing the very detailed process and then how to use kind of AIM modeling for having your long-term strategy and also NDC. Okay, then now I would like to invite keynote remarks from Malaysia. His Excellency Dato Seri Shahidan Kashim, Minister of Federal Territories Malaysia. So please share his video. Thank you so much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable ministers, distinguished speakers, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings from Malaysia and a very good afternoon to everyone in Glasgow. First, let me express my utmost gratitude to the Ministry of Environment, Japan, National Institute for Environmental Studies, NIES, and Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, IGES, for inviting me to speak at the Japan Pavilion. I'm delighted and honored to be given this opportunity to briefly address such an eminent audience in this very important and meaningful event, where we put our heads and hearts together to advance partnership between Japan and the rest of Asia towards a decarbonized, carbon-neutral Asia by around mid-century. Further, we would like to strengthen the vision of Keluarga Malaysia, which means the Malaysian family, under the flagship of our beloved Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri. Mitigating and adapting to climate change, striving to achieve net zero emission by mid-century will continue to be the most pressing challenge facing humanity not only today, but certainly into the future. We can no longer delay our action. We must act now. The Malaysian government has pledged to become a carbon-neutral nation by 2050 in the recently launched 12th Malaysia Plan. And I'm very proud the Ministry of Federal Territory under my watch has been tasked with leading Malaysia's transition into carbon neutrality. This is a task which I take very seriously. Ladies and gentlemen, cities play the most important role towards achieving carbon neutrality. To that end, cities need to implement concrete carbon neutrality policies and action plans that must be formulated based on good research and scientific evidence. Indeed, good research needs to build a strong international collaboration among research institutions and city governments. It is heartening to see that both sign to action, S2A, and collaboration are strongly demonstrated here through the Asia-Pacific Integrated Model, or AIM project. A successful demonstration of city-to-city collaboration supported by good research is the ongoing Tokyo to Kuala Lumpur Low Carbon System project. This project, which started in 2019, involved 2 ASEAN capital cities collaborating toward becoming net zero carbon cities by 2050. Supporting the two-way collaboration between Kuala Lumpur and Tokyo, involving the Kuala Lumpur City Hall and Tokyo Metropolitan Government, are the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, IGES, Japan, the Sustainable Energy Development Authority, SEDA, Malaysia, and University of Technology Malaysia, UTM, Low Carbon Asia Research Center. As Minister of Federal Territory, I'm the most delighted to see the Federal Territory of Kuala Lumpur, led by Mayor Datuk Sri Mahadi Chetngah, who will be speaking shortly, leading the way towards becoming a carbon neutral city by 2050. Malaysia is delighted to share the significant progress made in implementing the low carbon and carbon neutrality agenda using the AIM and S2A approach in Kuala Lumpur, the perfect model of fast-growing cities in Asia. Permit me to extend my deepest appreciation to all the partners involved, NIES, IGES, and Tokyo Metropolitan Government, Japan, and on my home front, the Kuala Lumpur City Hall and University Technology Malaysia Low Carbon Asia Research Center for the great collaborations that resulted in the baseline modeling for Kuala Lumpur Low Carbon Society Blueprint 2030 and the Kuala Lumpur Carbon Neutrality 2050 pathway. And I extend my greatest appreciation to the Ministry of Environment, Japan, for making this Tokyo to Kuala Lumpur low carbon system city-to-city collaboration possible. I hope such science-based collaboration and partnership in climate action with sustainable support from developed economies will grow strength to strength towards a carbon neutral Asia, hopefully around mid-century. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Dato Shahidan Kashim, Minister of the Federal Territory, Malaysia. So then let's move to Vietnam, also our very important partner. I'd like to invite the Dr. Phan Van Tan, Deputy Director General, Department of Meteorology, Hydrology, and Climate Change, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, Vietnam. So please come to the podium.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Vietnam delegation, I would like to thank for Japanese government for inviting me to this important side event. As you may know that the government of Vietnam, we already submitted our NDC to UNFCCC in September 2020. And not like Indonesia, we haven't submit the long-term strategy to UNFCCC yet. But after submission of our NDC, we are requested to develop the long-term strategy. And the same situation with Indonesia, we also see that 2050 is a very long time with a lot of uncertainty. So that's why the government of Vietnam requests us to make it very carefully calculation. So we approach our development partners to ask for help. So we started our process of development of our long-term strategy in January 2021. The work supported to be completed before COP26, but you may know that we have not submitted the long-term strategy. I will tell you why later on. But when we get this task, we see that is very difficult for us. So we ask development partners to help. So the two development partners help us in calculation of long-term strategies. The first is from government of Germany through IGES in Vietnam, have us calculation from bottom-up calculation, how we can get emissions scenarios up to 2050. Another one, my minister directly, he asked the ministers of environment of Japan to help independently calculate from top-down approach using AIM model to help us to check the data, check the information that we calculate from our side. And then by the end of September, the output of 2 calculations are finalized, and luckily it's quite close. I can say that we are very happy that 2 calculations, one bottom up and another one from top down using AIM model, is very close with very clear options for us to get picking in from now until 2050, and also net zero by long-term approach. We submitted information to the top level of Vietnam, include the information to Politburo of Vietnam to consider. And then the Vietnam say that our commitment is not strong enough. So they request us to do more. So that's why we have not completed our work as planned before. So, but during that time, the team AIM model have us a lot to calculate so many times, because requirement of Vietnam is sees what level we can approach, we can do. So they request us to do so many times. And then the team, expert team from Japan, help us very much on that. And for the information, most of information and calculation from AIM team and also from GSS team, we report to higher level. And then using the 2 set of data to help us to finalize the final decision that Vietnam should go to net zero by 2050, the Prime Minister of Vietnam announced on the 1st of November. So with that commitment, we now still need you to help us to calculate how we can get to that level, and then how to do that, of course. And then by this occasion, I would like to thank the team from the Japan, and then Ministries of the Environment of Japan and the government of Japan for help us many things. I can say for days for helping the Japan to Vietnam in terms of climate change. But this time I only mention about the AIM model. So continue helping us and then go with us for the very important journal to get net zero by 2050. Thank you very much.
For sharing your process in detail. Also, thank you very much for how AI model can contribute to the process to declare like carbon neutrality in Vietnam. Yeah, it's quite the honorable. Thank you so much. Okay. Then now I'd like to invite Mr. Shoda Yutaka, Vice Minister for Global Environmental Affairs, Minister of the Environment Japan, for welcome remarks. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry to be late. Thank you for coming today to the Japan Pavilion side event. I would like to say a few introductory words on behalf of the Ministry of the Environment. In light of the growing importance of Asia in terms of global climate policy, the government of Japan, together with other Asian countries, has promoted science-based policy making since the 1980s. The Asia-Pacific Integrated Assessment Model, AIM, is one important tool for this purpose. Through AIM, Japan has worked hand in hand with researchers and policymakers in the region. The Ministry of the Environment and the AIM project team provide technical support for developing long-term strategies in several countries in the Asian region. For example, Indonesia's long-term strategy for low carbon and climate resilience 2050, a document that has been submitted to the UNFCCC, featured analysis based on AIM outputs. We are also collaborating with Vietnam since last year. In addition to providing technical support at a national level, we have supported the development of strategies for carbon neutrality in some Asian cities, such as Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta, West Java, and Haiphong, to name a few. AIM is playing an important role in helping these cities implement ambitious strategies. Going forward, if given the opportunity, we hope to further expand this project to other countries and cities. On this occasion, please allow me to express my sincere congratulations to the Asian community and the JIFE management team, which commissioned to IGES for the successful launch of the Asian State of Climate Change report issued on 7th October. This is the first official report by ASEAN on the overall status and outlook of climate change that covers the entire Asian region. Japan has contributed to the formation of the report's long-term vision through the AIM model and the AP Plat database. It's my hope that specific actions laid out in the report will be translated into national and subnational policies. In conclusion, I hope that this seminar will be an opportunity to encourage decarbonization efforts and lead to new partnerships. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Vice Minister Shoda-san, for having the sharing the how Japan government support kind of ASEAN countries or Asia Pacific country to getting the kind of science-based scenario pathway towards the zero carbon by 2050 or around. Okay, so then now let's move to the photo session. It's like a memorable time for us, and then so for all the speakers, please come to the front, and then also the speakers who join online, please show your face. Yeah, so please come to the front, and also for Meya Mahadi. Also, Urban, yeah, please come. Yes. Chao-san, please take photo. And also the from Jakarta. So today it's a time to launch your new report. So then, yeah. So yeah, AIM model. So please share to launch the this report to launch. Yes, 出たばっかりなんです。Using AIM model. Congratulations. Okay, so thank you very much. Also one more. Sorry, one more. Please join us. It's a this is it. Borneo. Okay. So you have copy. So please share this copy. Yeah. Please join us again. Yeah. Borneo Forum. Okay. Yeah, from Malaysia, Borneo. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you. So let's get back to the session. So last but not least, I'd like to invite the Professor Shukura. He is the co-chair of RPCC Working Group 3, and also he's a kind of the AIM first generation important person. And so, yeah, Shukura-san, yeah, provides yours.
I would like to thank National Institute for Environmental Studies, NIES, Japan, for inviting me to present at COP26 Japan Pavilion. This presentation is focused on contribution of the Asia-Pacific Integrated Model AIM for long-term strategy, LTS. Over 3 decades, Asia-Pacific Integrated Model has emerged as a key platform for climate change modeling and policy assessment in the Asia-Pacific region. I have been part of AIM policy modeling community since its inception 3 decades ago. AIM is a global computer simulation model developed by NIES Japan. The model is successfully used to assess global and regional emission scenarios, related impact assessments, and mitigation strategies. An important feature of the AIM is to provide assessment at both global and regional levels. National modeling and assessment community uses AIM to delineate long-term strategy. Countries can downscale the scenario assessments to assist policymakers at local levels. AIM modeling assessment has received high degree of acceptance. For example, use of IPCC's SSP3 marker scenario, illustrating a particular narrative. Many environmental studies could benefit from the meaningful insights available from the large-scale land use change resulting in SSP3. National and sub-national policymakers also benefit from modeling assessment. The framework helps countries to align their strategies to meet sustainable development goals and the Paris Agreement. This informs global and national policymakers to delineate their long-term strategies, LTS and NDCs. I wish to thank NIES for supporting and building a vibrant modeling community in Asia and engaging with the global modeling teams. This is a unique contribution to informing issues of climate change and sustainable development in global, national, and local context. I thank you again, National Institute of Environmental Studies, Japan, for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Shukura, for sending you a very strong message by video. Yeah, it's quite honorable, and then we are in the good science group, AIM team. Okay, then I would like to move to the part 2 of this side event. So then I'd like to invite the speakers on site to the panel. So Prof. 4, yeah. And then Dato Seri Mahadi, please. And also Mr. Aban from Jakarta. Yeah, thank you very much. I may take seat here, so then please. Sorry, one by one. So Aban, please. Yeah, thank you. Okay, then now I quickly share the my part, the framing presentation. So please show my slide. Thank you very much. Yeah, about the AIM model, it has a history around 30 years, and then I'd like to share the latest activity. So next slide, please. As the Vice Minister Shoda already mentioned, AIM model support work together with several countries in Asia Pacific, also like subnational level, city level, including the Jakarta and then Kuala Lumpur city. Next slide, please. Yeah, for how to support the like country or city level scenario development, we conduct kind of capacity building, training workshop, or technical support, or science policy dialogue, including the LOCANET, Low-Carbon Asia Research Network, or also AIM International Workshop. Next slide, please. This is some detail of the how AIM team MOEJ work together with the Vietnam Monday. Dr. Tan already mentioned some details, so then I may skip, but we prepare this process from the last year, February. Next slide, please. Then we apply the several model, EXSS model or end use or CGE, and then having policy dialogue. Several times by online. It's sometimes good to have online to have kind of frequent meeting like KL, Tokyo, UTM. Yeah. Then we finally develop the scenario for Vietnam. Next slide, please. So this is just the kickoff, and then let's listen to some more detail of how the scientists contribute to develop kind of long-term strategy. So first, I'd like to invite the Dr. Masui Toshihiko. He's the head of Social System Division, and then NIES, and then he is the leader of the AIM team. So Masui-san, over to you.
Thank you, Fujino-san. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, yeah, good evening and good afternoon. My name is Toshihiko Masui. I belong to National Institute for Environmental Studies. On behalf of AIM team, I will explain about the framework of the AIM. So as Fujino-san mentioned, we have very long history, and we collaborate the Asian countries like this. And we also exchange the information among these countries. And we have the AIM International Workshop every year. So in this year, we have already finished on September 30 and October 1st. And so about the detailed information, please visit our website. So all the information about the model and the previous workshop. So please visit our website. And this slide shows the NDC and long-term strategies of some Asian countries. So many countries have already submitted the NDC and the NTS, but as you may know, that to achieve the 1.5 degree target, our present the goal, the target is not enough. So we may need more ambitious target and more strong or the concrete roadmap. So in order to support such kind of the activity, we developed the integrated assessment model named AIM, Asia Pacific Integrated Model. But Asian countries is quite diverse, so we need to customize our model to meet each country's situation. So so that is why we collaborate with the Asian countries and the Asian Research Institute. This is the very rough structure how to support the AIM team support to the partners countries. So AIM team supports the research institute in each country. And this the institute support the government to prepare the NDCs or long-term strategies. And also the MOEJ and JICA. So this policy side also support to develop the NDCs and the NTS. So directly and indirectly we support the the Asian partners countries, the long-term strategies and the NDC. And this is the process of the how to develop the long-term strategies and scenarios for roadmap. Due to the time constraint, I'd like to skip. But yeah, I'd like to strengthen that this process needs quite long time. So the we need the long-term the collaboration among the Asian countries. And in order to develop the roadmap and scenarios toward the decarbonized society, basically we utilize three kinds of models. One is an extended snapshot tool to assess the goal of the our future. And the second one is an AIM end-use model to show the technology roadmap to achieve the decarbonized society. And the last one is the AIM CG model to assess the macroeconomic impact to achieve the decarbonized society. So by combining these three models and results, we show the actions and roadmap to achieve the decarbonized society. So these three slides show the detailed the structure of each model and tool, but I'd like to skip and that I just show the typical results. These slides show the Thailand SAD communications. In the case of Thailand, Professor Bundit simulated by using the AIM end-use model and the CG model. And also for Thailand, last month, Thailand submitted their long-term strategies. And in this, the Thailand long-term strategies, the Professor Pundit supported the government by using the AIM end-use model and CG. And in the case of Indonesia, so at the first part, the Indonesian government has already submitted the long-term strategies. And to develop the long-term strategies, Professor Rizaldi Boer and Professor Uchok, ITB, is supported by using our model. And in the case of Vietnam, as Dr. Tang has already mentioned, we had the collaboration between Japan and Vietnam, and we support this kind of activity. Okay, so this is my last slide. We'd like to communicate the Asian countries to realize the decarbonized society together. For that purpose, the long-term collaboration is quite important for this activity. And the AIM team will strongly support this activity. That's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Masai-san, for sharing the methodology, also the importance of longer collaboration for having longer term strategy. Thank you so much from Japan. It's a midnight time. Okay, then next I'd like to invite Professor Bundit Rim from the SIIT Thammasat University, Thailand, regarding the Thailand LTS. So over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Fortino. Good afternoon, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Good, I think midnight already for Dr. Matsui in Japan. And good morning for online participant in America. For Thailand, I should start my slide first. First, we have to thank NIES and IGES for supporting AIM modeling in Asia, not only in Thailand. For AIM Youth and MCGE, Dr. Masui already mentioned. Yeah, I will not go in detail because it's too technical. In Thailand, in the long-term strategy that government just submit, I think, before the COP meeting on the 30th of October, we employ AIM Youth for technology selection, and we use MCGE for assessment of economic impact, especially what GDP and welfare loss, for example. Here the process that you can find from Thailand long-term strategy that already appear in website of UNFCCC. This is the process that we did. First, we employ pre-2050 policy measure and including all available technology that we expect before 2050 in all sectors. In this time, we analyze GHG mitigation according to IPC sector. That means energy, IPPU, waste, and agriculture sector. That means afro sector. And then we use AIM and use for technology selection. After that, we use MCGE for assessment of economic impact. This is the government process that the process I think already appear in figure 3.1 of Thailand LTS. We involve here in the process of working group and national consultation, as Dr. Masui mentioned, because we are research institute. So government set up the working group in energy sector, transport, IPPU, agriculture, waste, LULUCF, and socio-economic. Also, government set up national consultation. So we have several meetings in the past 1 year before coming to the final version of Thailand long-term strategy. After that, ONEP as a focal point, they have their own process, such as the subcommittee for approval until National Climate Change Committee. And finally, last month, Thailand Cabinet already approved this report, and ONEP as focal point submit to UNFCCC on 30th of October. Here are the results. We analyze the pathway of 1.5 degree, IPC 1.5, and also 2 degree, and we find that for Thailand, the pathway of the 2 degree is possible, and we can achieve net zero greenhouse gas emission within the second half of this century. But for the pathway of 1.5, it's very difficult to make it net zero greenhouse gas by 2050. We prepare all analysis and conclusion and recommendation to the government. You can see that finally, Ministry of Energy Thailand asked us to revise. Okay, that means ask ONEP as focal point to include some advanced technology and high ambition level of GHG mitigation. Finally, we found that for the case of Thailand, we could achieve carbon neutrality. That means if we consider only CO2 emission by 2065, and then all of this information already appear in Thailand long-term strategy report. Until the COP start last week, the Prime Minister of Thailand already mentioned about the higher ambition target. So we will raise mitigation level for NDC 2030 up to 40%, and we also will make carbon neutrality by 2050 and climate neutral by 2065. Of course, all of these still need the roadmap and the support from international. Thank you. That's for Thailand.
Thank you very much, Professor Bunditrim, for your great support for the Thailand government and then providing the scientific evidence based on AI modeling. So thank you so much. Open Cup. Okay, then let's move to the Indonesia. So Indonesia also have a very important AIM researcher and professors, Professor Rizal Dibor, IPB, and also Professor Retono Gerang Devi, and also Dr. Uchok from ITB. So who will start first? Rizal Di-san, so over to you.
So good evening. And good afternoon, I think, for friends who attended Glasgow. So thank you very much for inviting us to share what have been done in Indonesia in the context of developing our long-term strategy and how we use the modeling tool for supporting the preparation of that long-term strategy. So as you know, actually the government of Indonesia have committed to do the NDC to reduce the emission by 29% unconditionally, and then 41% with the international support. And the LTS, the government also have a long-term vision how to increase its emission reduction ambition. So toward net zero emissions, so we expect that we will reach the net zero emission by 2060 or earlier. So in developing the NDC and designing the long-term strategy for low carbon and climate resilient 2050, Indonesia used a number of modeling tools. So in this regard, we got support from several international research agencies, particularly NIES, IGES, and IDRI as well, and others. So as you can see, and already also explained by Professor Masri, actually we adopt the AIM tools for supporting in the designing of our long-term strategy. So we use the AIM extended snapshot, including AIM use for the energy one. And we develop also our AVLO dashboard, which is based on the AVLO A and AVLO B of AIM model. So, and then we assess also the economic impact of the low carbon pathway using the MCGE. So by combining these tools, so Indonesia are able to really design rational kind of scenarios for long-term strategy. And of course, we are still now working and discuss how we can develop also an alternative strategy toward net zero emission. As we understand, the long-term strategy document is a living document that might change from time to time, following the progress that has been made at international, also at national level. So we still really need to get support from the international team who work on the modeling, especially from the Japan, who already use the AIM models. So we have done the analysis for using this tool. And then in the context of AVLO dashboard in designing the long-term strategy, as I already mentioned, so Indonesia used developed this model based on the AIM AVLO A, its land use model, where AVLO B, it is a model to assess the mitigation option. It's like the end use for the energy. So Indonesia actually have been involved in developing of the AVLO A and AVLO B a while ago with the expert from NIES. I think it started in 2012. So this actually develop our capacity, how actually we can develop also our AVLO model, taking into account, of course, the national condition, and that's actually make our modeling actually flexible in terms of accommodating the change and the policies at the national level. So you can see here in the figures how actually we develop our AVLO dashboard, which is quite similar to the model that has been designed by the AIM team before. So the result of our analysis, as you can see here, so we develop using the tools, two scenarios in the context of land use change and forestry, country policy scenarios, and deep decarbonization scenarios, which is compatible with Paris. So this tool actually help us to find what actually the management choices and strategy and policy that need to be taking place, how actually we can really meet and achieve the net zero emission. In the context of Avalu, we are trying to twist the status of the emission of the Avalu sector at present to become net sink by 2030, and we expect the size of the sinks will continue to increase until 2050, and that's why this sector will play a very important role to offset some of the emission come from the energy sector, for example. So you can see from the analysis. So the tool also help us how actually we can really design kind of scenarios and assumption to ensure that actually the deforestation can be reduced significantly. So of course the tool help us to identify and develop kind of assumption scenarios. So in the context of agriculture, for example, to reduce the demand for land to the future, actually we develop a consumption and lead also to help what are the conditions that should be in place to achieve this goal. So in the context of improving the crop productivity and cropping intensity, it is very important to understand how actually we can already modernize the agricultural system in order to increase the productivity, including the adoption of the technology, including also the financial assets and labor productivity. So in the context of increasing the land use efficiencies, I think it's very important how actually Indonesia also implement the integrated farming system, including the optimizing the use of unproductive land. So the two are really able to design a number of scenarios how actually we can reduce the demand for land in the future to avoid the conversion of our natural forests, including also the impact of reducing food loss and food waste in terms of increasing or reducing the threat of conversion. So in the context of the assessment, the impact of the long-term strategy on the economics, so as we mentioned, actually we adopt also IMCGE, so we can evaluate the impact of its scenarios. So it's quite clear actually from the modeling tools and the exercise that we have, actually the Indonesia still can keep the positive economic growth by about 5% per year for the stage 3 scenarios, even though there is a insignificant loss of the economy because of the implementation of deep decarbonization scenario. However, with inclusion of co-benefit, so we expect that probably the economic implication of deep decarbonization will be more positive. So from this exercise, so we learned that actually it is quite important how actually we can also develop our capacity in terms of evaluating the impact of the implementation of deep decarbonization scenario development in related to the co-benefit that can be created from that. So as an epilogue for this, so we feel that I'm contribute quite a lot in the process of developing the long-term strategy. As during this process, we also get support in developing our capacity, and also Indonesian team receive a number of technical capacity and training before, and also in providing support in designing the low carbon scenario development as well. And I think in some part we also get the support in designing the policy dialogue in the process of designing the low carbon development strategy, including also facilitate exchange of experience and lesson learned from other Asian countries in designing the low carbon scenarios, as ultimately aware that actually we always have a gathering every year to exchange knowledge and lesson learned that we have in the doing the analysis, especially in designing the low carbon scenarios development. So what we expect, as I just mentioned before, that further capacity of using AIM on co-benefit assessment of low carbon development, including also adaptation, is quite important for us, as we know that probably we will need to revise and resubmit again our long-term strategy in the future. And I think it is quite crucial how we can strengthen the capacity in the region on the use of the AIM modeling tool. So that I would like to end my presentation, and I would like to hand over to Pak Uco and Bu Kelang to continue. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the time. I would like to thank for the AIM contribution to Indonesia LTS. And at the moment, I also want to share the development of LTS for decarbonization in Indonesia energy sector. Government of Indonesia has submitted its updated NDC along with the LTS last July 2021. The document is called LTS LCCR and already presented by Ibu Emma, and also Professor Rizaldi Bur has also mentioned about the contribution of AIM and to LTS in Apollo sector. And the development of LTS was conducted by running several scenarios using AIM models and the strategy, mitigation pathway, and adaptation pathway. And the sector is Apollo, energy, IPPU, and waste. In the energy sector, we have a strong support from AIM model, and we acknowledge, appreciate, and thank to NIES for the AIM model's development. And what is the contribution for AIM in the development of LTS for decarbonization in Indonesia energy sector, not only for preparing for the national level, but we also now use this model to update for national energy policy. We call this CAN, Kebijakan Energi Nasional. This is under the National Energy Council, but still under preparation. And in the level of ministry, because of there are some of ministry also contribute in this development for the energy sector, because energy is not independently. Then Ministry of Environment and Forestry coordinate for Ministry of Energy, and also and Mineral Research, and also Ministry of Industry. We developed LTS LCCR 2050 that is just released in 2021, and also roadmap for NDC 2030 that is just released that was released in 2019, and now NZE net zero emission is to 2060, still under preparation. And for the subnational, we use this model for developing low carbon development strategy for province level, DKI Jakarta, Bali, and also West Java province. And education and also capacity buildings, we have several master degree thesis and also academic publication, and we also contribute for international publication together with the under commit and also under engage. And also the last we have already we also have a collaboration with the IED in France. Decarbonization in the company level, we also use end-use model for the roadmap of oil and gas, and also nickel and gold mining, and the last is pulp and paper industries. Under the LTS 2050 and NZE 2060 for all sector, Indonesia LTS on the left side, in the left side, we discuss about LTS 2050, but in the NZE net zero emission in 2060, we talk about how to achieve net zero emission, where in energy sector, we still have emission here, that is trade-off with the full, and then the net emission is become zero in 2060. We see that this LCCP picking 5 sector in 2030, with the net zinc sector in Afulu is 2030. And this is there are 3 scenario we use for current policy, that is extended from NDC under the countermeasure 1 is under unconditional scenario, but in the TNS is a transition scenario, that is a between before for scenario for
Letono-san, I'm very much sorry, but you may have another 2-3 minutes. I'm sorry, we need
Okay,
to finish our event within 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So
Okay,
sorry.
yeah. And also decarbonization of energy sector. Yeah. But this is the model that we use, the AX model and also AIM end use model. And this is for the model for the snapshot that we use. And this is energy economic model that we use also. And the last, this model is for the end use model. And this is the our contribution for the net zero emission, where the GDP scenario and also for the population growth, we use this for the assumption. And this is gross output, and also this is the GDP, where there is several sectors that we have already projected. And the result of energy production is final energy demand. This is the result until 2060. This is population, GDP per capita compared to the relative to the 2010. And then this is electricity consumption and non-electricity consumption. And we also have energy sector emission by emitting sector under 3 scenario. And this is power generation mix and grid emission. Then we can see that it's a deep decarbonization will decrease carbon footprint of the grid of the network. Yeah. And this is our result and contribution to LTS and LCCR. And this one is for the NDC, roadmap of the NDC. And this is the first that we produced in 2010. Yeah. Then this is the first that we have document for the low carbon society scenario. And this is our contribution for low carbon urban infrastructure investment in Asian city. This is we discuss about DKI Jakarta, and post 2020 climate action. We discuss about the AIM for the CGE model. And this one is Trilogy Indonesia, and this is released by the Ministry of Energy, Environment and Forestry, but we focus on the energy sector together with the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resource. Yeah. And this is some our publication. This is for I think this is for power sector and support by IGES, NIES, and AIM. And this is DKI Jakarta. And this is long-term strategy for West Java that is interlinked with the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And also this one is for Bali, because of we have program for Bali renewable-based power plant development toward Bali green and independent electricity supply. And this is some our publication for poster, and this one is also for power sector. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Retono-san, also Uchok-san, for having the great effort to having scenario, long-term scenario for the Jakarta, Indonesia, also the cities, including Jakarta. So now I'd like to invite Mr. Urban Purungan, climate envoy from the Jakarta. So floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to speak.
Using the mic. Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to try to very brief, Fujio-san. So, like Professor Gelang said and Professor Rizaldi Bur said about Asia Pacific integrated model in Indonesia, in Jakarta particularly, I would like to express my gratitude to IGES and Ministry of Environment of Japan to assisting Jakarta in developing long-term strategy, long-term strategy for a low carbon society, because specifically this approach helped Jakarta to develop the first legally binding product called low carbon development plans, which incorporated mitigation and adaptation. It really helps by Professor Bur and Professor Gelang, where they are work collaboratively in helping Jakarta to develop this strategy. However, it's really help us to facilitate and things beyond administrative boundaries because it's long term and climate change have no boundaries. So this approach help us to think beyond boundaries and like we said, a butterfly wings move in Glasgow, the effect will be also happen in Jakarta, right? So this approach help us to think globally but act locally to reduce emission and also increasing our adaptive capacities in city context. However, there is burdens and challenge where we also have like support from C40 and that there are two different tools and it's not really compatible with each other. So I think our take on this, I think it will be better if we can develop a very specific and comprehensive tools globally, which we can contextualize in national level usage. And then finally, I think we are already have the plans. Now the challenge is how to implement it, how to achieve it. And I think IGES and Ministry of Environment of Japan will be in a very good place to facilitate collaboration between Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur, city in Thailand, and Japan to collaborate to implement this strategy and implementation. And also I invite if we can like connecting business sector in Jakarta and business sector in Japan, Kuala Lumpur and in Thailand to work together to achieve this implementation and strategy. Thank you very much, Fujisan.
Thank you very much, Avan-san, for sharing the quite the kind of frontline kind of the idea on how to implement and then how we have the good collaboration among the cities or the subnational, also national level, international. So thank you. Then now I'd like to invite the Kuala Lumpur city. Dato Seri Mahadi Binche Nga, he's the mayor of Kuala Lumpur City Hall, Malaysia. So over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Fujina-san, for the introduction. Excellencies, fellow panelists, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon, and thank you to one and all. Permit me to extend my appreciation to the Ministry of Environment Japan, National Institute for Environmental Studies, NIES, and Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, IGES, for inviting me to share Kuala Lumpur's experience in collaborating with Japanese agencies using the Asia-Pacific Integrated Model, or AIM or AIM, in the journey to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. Ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon, my presentation will follow the following structure. Firstly, I will touch on the background of Tokyo to Kuala Lumpur low carbon system. Secondly, the phases of the Tokyo to Kuala Lumpur low carbon system project. Thirdly, application of AIM for charting a carbon neutrality pathway. And I will end up my presentation with a conclusion. As a background, since 2019, Kuala Lumpur City Hall has been collaborating with Tokyo Metropolitan Government in pursuing the vision to become a carbon neutral city by 2050. So this collaboration is supported by agencies such as Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, Japan, IGES, the Sustainable Energy Development Authority, Malaysia, SEDA, and University of Technology Malaysia, UTM, Low Carbon Asia Research Center. The slide showing the official launching of the Tokyo to Kuala Lumpur low carbon system project in August 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, we have done a few projects for the Tokyo to Kuala Lumpur low carbon systems. And then for the pilot projects, energy consumption patterns were determined, showing the air conditioning system being the dominant consumption, accounting for 63% of energy use. They point out to focus on detailed study on the energy consumption of air conditioning equipment of the pilot projects. In our pilot projects, we actually use our main City of Kuala Lumpur main buildings. So based on the study done, it revealed the information that the study has produced a data that shows energy consumption of air conditioning equipment is so dominant. In addition to efficiency improvement of air conditioning system, the study also identified the need for renewable energy or RE through the installation of rooftop solar PVs. Then we go to the phase 3. In phase 3, the project provides a basis for future planning and regulation for approval of new buildings in Kuala Lumpur, where real estate developers are to utilize at least 30% of the renewable energy in their projects. Ladies and gentlemen, the Tokyo to Kuala Lumpur low carbon system project further offers a good basis for Kuala Lumpur to up its ambition to implement carbon neutral measures in the Wan Semaju Growth Center. As a guide for Kuala Lumpur to progressively transition into carbon neutrality, the Asia Pacific Integrated Model, or AIM, is used to determine the baseline emissions and potential GHG reduction for Kuala Lumpur, showing a potential for emissions to peak out at 2030. The Asia Pacific Integrated Model aims provides a scientific approach to charting out a clear and pragmatic pathway to guide Kuala Lumpur towards achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. See on the slide, it is projected that Kuala Lumpur can potentially reduce its greenhouse gas emission intensity by up to 72% by 2030 and 92% by 2050. Ladies and gentlemen, as a conclusion, the Tokyo to Kuala Lumpur low carbon system project is a vital collaboration for the two cities, Tokyo and Kuala Lumpur, to work towards becoming carbon neutral cities. The AIM's approach has provided a clear direction in implementing low carbon and carbon neutral efforts in Kuala Lumpur. Thanks to Tokyo, we are confident that we will be able to realize the vision of becoming a low carbon society by 2030 and carbon neutral city by 2050. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I end my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Seri Mahadi, and very much sorry for inconvenience of your slide, and then we definitely put your slide on our website later. Very much sorry, and so we are already past the time, but easy. Yeah, I'd like to invite the last but not least speaker, Professor Ho Chin Shong from UTM. So sorry, very limited time, but easy. Yeah, floor is yours. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me here. I would like to summarize the AIM's contribution in Malaysian context. You can see the map of Malaysia shows that we have so many cities there, and AIM's model have been used as a baseline modeling for our projection to understand what will be the target setting, 1. 2, and then from the target setting, we also do the plan action using the AIM's ESSS model. So we have done it first for Iskandar, Malaysia, then followed by Kuala Lumpur, and then subsequently for small cities like Hang Tuah Jaya, Muar, Sekamat, Pengerang, and Penampang and Tawau. And the latest project that we are trying to do now will be on Borneo Forum 2021. So this is one of the work that we are exploring the use of AIM's model. Next slide, please. Okay, this is science to action. Next, please. Okay, these are some of the output that we have done with the help of AIM's model. You can see that actually Kuala Lumpur is one of the important case and one of the most biggest city in Malaysia. And AIM's model have been used successfully to do the planning as well as the plan action for implementation of Kuala Lumpur low carbon society as well as carbon neutrality 2050. And the rest of the report, as shown here, are some of the cities in Malaysia that have used AIM's model in the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof, for having very short but sharp presentation. Thank you so much. We are already time up, and so then I'd like to close this session. But thank you very much for the coming, all the audience, also the panelists, and it's a kind of collection of the AIM modeling, and then we continue to having the better scenario. Also, as the Urban-san or the Dr. Seri Mahadi mentioned, we need also action. So then, yeah, let's work together. So thank you very much. Thank you.